Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today, the War in Kingdom SS1-2 for the second season here is continuing. There is a lot to cover, to break down, to give you an overview of how the landscape has shifted just in these past, I would argue, 10 hours or so since I last went to bed and then woke up. So we're going to just jump right in. Let me go ahead and just hit this quick. And I'm almost done with actually all my fogging. So let me kind of let you know what's happened, right? So prepping you with Burning Lands, right? We know this is where S6 or Kingdom 6 ended up landing, with God kind of being the forefront there for their alliance. And then BDL being the forefront here for Kingdom 5. IDL's there as well. I believe also God X or God Z. And then we move up here to Forgotten Lands. This is where NT45 is, right, for the most part. You have NT17. We ended up seeing them capturing these level 1 passes and then pushing, basically making the CF, capping, and then pushing their players through, right, or having their marches pushed through, and then removing the CF, rebuilding the CFs over here. This is where you see IDL, you see BDL, NT45. This was GOD, now is GOZ. I believe they should have they're building their core right now. I'm not actually sure what IDL is doing. I don't know if they're like attacking these guys or what the plan is here. Okay, maybe it was just something that they have. But this is an alliance fort now. Again, they have rebuilt the core. Let's see real quick on what's going on with GOZ. I think they're still building. They are. So they got 5 hours left, but they got a few more people that are coming. So then they cap these level 1 passes that SS lets them in on. They then go ahead and build alliance forts so they can start flagging in. They then reset up core fortresses over here at the main junction for the current war and fighting that's happening, which is on the 2 level 1 passes between Nivola and the Sophrostia region. This is where you see BDL here, you see NT45 here, SS18, we have IDL, GOD, SS1-1, and then 0-0. Now, to give you the lay of the land on what's happening, because I'm going to try and cover this somewhat quickly, and again, just to give you like kind of a morning overview, and then we'll give you some more fight videos throughout the day. Baby's just hungry, unfortunately, so I got to try and get this in ASAP Rocky, if yada I mean, feel me. Okay. So, let's show you real quick, right? So this is what's happening. There is somewhat of a stalemate here right now at the TA level 1 pass, right? There's basically just back-to-back rallies. You got a lot of people just kind of hanging around, and then you got NT45 here, SS18, and we got BDL, right? Essentially, they're, I believe, just kind of constantly doing the pass grabs. There's some range play that's happening here, like what you're seeing right now with King J and Bakunawa, right? Shout out to the commitment there. And then if we go up, right, and it's mainly just, right, TA for the most part, that's there. Really where the more action is on the north level 1 pass, or the northwestern level 1 pass between GRZ and TM. And you can see they've basically have been rotating at this point, right? So GRZ has some players in here, and then TM. Now this is kind of where the fighting is happening, right? So you'll see this here. You got GOD, IDL here, and there's a little bit of fighting, not too much, right? So what I want to talk about here, and you could see this, right? I mean, there's Burning, right? Again, strongest player in the game, was strongest player in the game, right? He was at 72 mil, now at 61 mil. Same thing with Ghost. Muzza Does was up there too as well. You can see players losing power because of how much they're fighting. Junie, I believe, has lost maybe the least amount of power, at least from when we looked at. If we look at personal merits, though, however, doesn't mean that he's not fighting. Ghost right now has the most merits. Burning right behind him does. I mean, again, you can see here just 3 out of the top 4, right, being on one of the Union sides, right, putting in a lot of work just on the PvP end. And we're going to go through personal merits too as well a little bit later. And I'll give you a breakdown of, which players, which sides, right, have been fighting the most that are on the top 200. But so far, I mean, again, you're seeing a lot. I mean, even if you just look at the bubble position at number 200, right, just to kind of give you an idea of how much fighting, right, you got 140,000 merits that have happened essentially within a, right, it's been what, 18, 19, 20 hours or so since the fighting started, and right, there's already 200 players with 140,000 personal merits or more. That's good. So what I want to talk about real quick, because again, there's not a plethora of fighting that's happening right now. I want to give you just a quick rundown on what I really think should happen from both sides, right? So if you're going to try and push and really make something happen, what are you doing? First and foremost, let me touch on kind of the GRZ, TA, TM, right, that side, UEH, that side of, and then TD, TMS, right, that side of it. So at the moment, right, this is pretty overwhelming when you just look at the number of players that are here and versus the number of players that are here on the TA side, right? Now, in this situation, it really just depends on what TA wants to do. Clearly, they haven't gone through the pass yet. They are waiting. Now, this to me says a few things. One, are they worried that they would lose the fight if they go through and then they wouldn't be able to hold? And that's why they're not pushing through the gates. Or could it be that they just don't have enough people online? Maybe it's not their peak active time right now. We are going into a Monday, which obviously is a work week or a weekday, so that could be factoring in as well. The other side is maybe do they just feel that they have better odds defending the pass and reinforcing the pass rather than pushing through, and their view is, well, we're just going to delay as long as possible, so maybe we can push more on the Northwestern level 1 pass front, right? So it does depend. I mean, again, I would love to see them do a push out just to see, you know, how it goes, even if you're just sending however many. Now, obviously, it might be difficult with this many players here. You might have to switch the strategy up and maybe change up some artifacts, some pairings if needed. However, it is early in the morning. However, right, again, I think maybe they're just fine and content with the stalemate right now. We'll have to, again, see how this develops later in the day. But now let's move to the Northwestern level 1 pass, right, which is TM and GRZ who've really been holding this down. Given that TA probably cannot reinforce and send other players here, right, maybe UEH is going to get in on the fight, but they just need to be able to rally the pass themselves, and then you have 3 alliances going up here north. TA is kind of keeping the big group sustained or contained, if you will, down there on the southeastern level 1 pass. And now you're ended up having a little bit more freedom. But again, TA is kind of that crutch, right? So they can't necessarily move, because if they move or they reduce maybe the amount of presence that they have there, then that could just be an easy W takeover on the rally, and then they get pushed in at that point, or at least we see what happens. Now on the Northwestern front for them, really, this is where they should, right? UEA should be coming in and participating. This is where they should really be doing things like we talked about, the multitasking, the micromanaging, where they're sending, right? They have every player between TA, GRZ, or at least depending on, well, again, probably just TM because they're the ones who obviously have flagging here. But they should be, everyone from TM, right? Even if you're just not fighting, you should be at least sending 1 unit to go and destroy flags. Right? Everything that you're touching. So this to me is a missed opportunity here. That's something I would love to see. With GRZ, it might be difficult. It'd be nice if maybe they could flag out a little bit more. For example, move this flag over here. That way GRZ can push out and you can have 2 fronts. I think that's another missed opportunity that they have. If you end up clearing this out, then you might have an opportunity for UEH or someone who could push. So that's something you kind of have to plan for right ahead of time, where you see GRZ is pretty much fine, right, so to speak, because they have flagging here that they were allowed to do connecting, so they don't need the pass to keep pushing out. They kind of have, you know, mountain hopped, if you will, and that's really what you want to be doing for other alliances here, right? So in UEH's case, if they're able to build down here, you would almost want to come here, like from this area, let them take the flag, destroy this, build a flag, and then now you can push with 3 flags going out. That would be a little more ideal. But given that it is somewhat of a stalemate, they really should be going all in at this point. I mean, again, remember, timing, peak activity aside, that obviously is a factor. If they're going to do coordinated pushes, that's really where I would like to see a little bit more of a factor here now from GRZ, UEH, and TM. And it's just more about doing those types of things instead of kind of doing the one-on-ones, right? Or like, hey, we're just going to send in troops one by one by one. Like this here with Aegis. Again, I wouldn't necessarily do that. Even with this, Famer, Soul of Dark, right, some of these guys that are now going in, right, this is something we've talked about often where you want to kind of create staging areas, right? You don't just want to go in one by one and trickle your units because you're just going to get overpowered and it's not really going to be ideal for you in those situations. Now let's switch it up and talk about the other side, right? So now let's talk about the GOD, BDL, SS, IDL, union, right? God unions. So in this situation, what I would actually like to see happening is one thing here. This territory from SS1-1, what they need to do here is just remove these flags. And then that's going to allow you to, that's going to allow for God to push here and actually connect flags, right? Why? Because you already have it connecting here. You don't need this to be connecting. This is just stifling GOD. I'm actually surprised that no one removed these flags already. This is the pro move that needs to happen. You have IDL who's going to build here. GOD builds from here. You have to create lanes in order for you to more efficiently push. GOD is going to end up having to walk pretty far just to participate in fights, right? That's gonna slow down their response time and also their replenishment time, which could factor in. And I'm hoping that's not going to be something that stifles this northwestern front. In addition, with the stalemate that's happening here as well. Oh, hang on, let's see what happened. Oh, never mind. So nothing's really. Oh, wow, never mind, dude. So they did end up pushing through. Wow. Okay, so we're actually seeing some action happening right now, man. Let's see what's cracking, dude. Where's my boy Does? Again, you got to... Ooh, see, this is actually not a bad idea here, man. I wonder if TA just said, look, dude, we're just going to do a big push right now because maybe they just don't have a lot of people that are online, or maybe some of them are inactive because it's been so long. Dude, I love timed pushes like this where you just say, look, we're just going to coordinate. We're going to do a push out, see what we can do, and then go from there. That is really where you, as the other side who's waiting for something to happen because you don't have control of the pass, is that much more important for you to be active and attentive. Dude, this is intense. And I actually somewhat like if TA is attempting to coordinate here, it almost looks like they're splitting up into maybe like 3 groups, so to speak. This is actually okay. I'm not mad at this, but dude, they're catching quite a bit of NT45 players off guard. They're even catching some of the BDL guys off guard. Dude, Does is right back in it, man. He's like, bro, let's get it crack-a-lackin' here, man. So, man, okay, this is pretty cool, though. I mean, again, I'm not mad at this. I mean, this is something they're taking advantage of. This is why you have to be on point and you have to be paying attention to what's happening in your surroundings. You can't just throw units there and expect for them, and this is a great example, you can't just throw units there and expect that they're just going to automatically respond, right? And this is one of the things, right, man? Remember, CoD is not Rock. You know, CoD is an Infinity Kingdom, right? Again, I've mentioned this before. I really would like for them to do things like, you know, remove the counterattack damage. You know, I would argue almost completely, if not lower the percentage for infantry. That way you just have to be more attentive, right? Because it's almost a responsibility of the players themselves. And even in this situation here with Does, right, I probably wouldn't have overextended that much. I would have actually been right around here and then hit the farthest out, because now you're just taking multiple damage from multiple sides. And instead, fight and push through intermittently. Also, spread your units out, do some micro. Don't be so close together. You're just taking a bunch of unnecessary AoE damage. So let's see what happens now with NT45 if they're going to end up replenishing. I don't even know what they're building. Are they upgrading a tower? Oh, they are. So NT45 still, I mean, again, I assume they're probably going to overtime push TA back. But, dude, that was a pretty nice blow. I'm going to be honest, man. This was a really nice blow from TA. And hopefully this is a wake-up call to the other alliances there on that Union side where it's, dude, we need to, again, step up our game a little bit more, be, again, like I mentioned, a little bit more attentive. I'm actually shocked that they're not sending more troops through TA at this point, right? But, I mean, again, they're doing good. It's just a matter of, look, you just have a bunch of inactive players, right? That just are, I mean, so again, it's not, right, let me say, it's a little bit more one-sided, right, from TA. It's not as though both sides are 100% active and they're just fighting it out. That's obviously not what's happening here. I would love to see that, because then I think it would be a more accurate indicator on, the potential that we can see for, I would say both sides, but especially, at least in this situation, the NT45, SS, BDL side, right? Because, again, they just took, I would argue, a healthy amount of damage there on that push out, right? Just from not being that attentive in that moment, right? And yeah, they're going to replenish and they're going to regain control. But like I said, man, I really liked the time push there from TA. I thought that was really smart to do. And doing more of that is going to be, I think, in their favor, right? And we mentioned that as well right before they ended up doing the push. And I actually think it paid off well. Right, it's push as much as you can, and then again, right, in this situation, if you start feeling like you're losing ground, just go back through, right? Don't give them obviously as many points or as many personal merit points as possible. Looks like this alliance flag just got upgraded. But what I was trying to say earlier was, I'd love for NT45 to, maybe even just come and assist them over here a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying send everyone. Maybe you send half or a third of the players to come and assist. Now, I also feel that God in this... Now, maybe they'll be fine. Maybe they don't need to do anyone, and they just need to give IDL and GOD an easier flag path. That way, SSOO and SS11, depending on who's going to be committing here, will be able to do that a little bit more. I mean, again, it does look like they still should be able to push out, just depending... We have to see here where the fight is. So, yeah, so see, you still got... a little bit of fighting that's happening up here. Burning still putting in that work. I mean, again, you still have some decent activity that's happening. I would really like IDL to push through a little bit more. I mean, again, they have players that are just kind of hanging out here. They really could be making a dent here on this little southern choke. And then you have some of the God players. I mean, same here, right? You got people that are just kind of standing around a little bit. Not a lot, but some. Right, this is where you have to coordinate pushes. Don't just go in one by one, right? This is something that we talk about a lot, and this is one of really going to be the biggest factors for why healthy pushes can just be crushed, because of the fact that you're just letting your units trickle in one by one, and they're getting defeated very easily, right? This is where you push in together as a group, and then from there you're spreading out, right? So you're not just going in a line, you're spreading out and kind of almost always trying to proactively form arcs, right? You're trying to always remain at max distance, you're supporting the infantry who's going in to try to CC control, your cav is going around and picking off the stragglers. I mean, again, these are those types of true RTS tactics and kind of, macro, kind of those total war, kind of theater of war strategies that you really want to be implementing. And again, I think what we're seeing is okay. I don't think that this is like T1, what I would consider to be, right, the creme de la creme of strategy, but the game is young and, things are still developing. I think there's moments of good things that we see, and I like to point those out, and obviously the opportunities, because it's more than just, casting and talking about, some of the great engagements. I like to try and give it to you from a little bit more of an educational standpoint, and how can you improve, especially when the time comes around for your kingdom, right, and your alliances to work together. But, dude, as always, I'm excited. I just love seeing as much fighting as possible. That's always going to be my purest enjoyment. And so, being able to watch and see as much of that as I can. I was actually really good shadow games there. I ended up hitting multiple people. So let's do this, right? Before I close it out, let's just go take one more look here at this pass to see what's happening. I don't know if they've re-pushed out. Okay, yes, they did regain control. I'm shocked we don't see any keeps up, around the area. At least a keep around here, maybe a keep here, maybe a keep over here, building more barricades. I'd love to see more of that as well. You have like this opening over here. Again, obviously it depends on what they're going to do from here. So it's interesting, right? I mean, I think for the most part, this will probably be a stalemate. TA will probably do some more incremental pushes. Maybe we'll see some rallies from the other side so they can finally get control. But really, I think what's going to end up turning the tide of the war, at least at this time, is going to be this Northwestern front. It's going to be what can they do? Our God, IDL, SS alliances, are they going to be able to start pushing these back, right? Again, we're already seeing a flag here being removed, and that's the thing, man. It's remove these flags, all of these flags, and then you got to just be ready to hit back-to-back rallies, right? Remove the flags first, focus on that, but if you're ever waiting, hit the rallies, man. Like, that's something we saw TA doing, I think, last season pretty effectively, where they'd remove a flag, and the moment that the flag was removed, they were hitting rallies. Now, it might not be the most productive to do it now because you don't necessarily have control of the passes, so removing the flags because of the fact that GRZ is swapping. Oh, dude, UEH might be actually getting involved now. Interesting. So we'll have to see how many they end up pushing through. Oh, wow, dude, they actually pushed through a couple here. Wow. So, yeah, man, I mean, like I said, this Northwestern front here is looking, again, as it could be trending more in favor, a little bit of an advantage now to the IDL, the GOD, the SS18, SS00, SS11, and 00 alliances. So we'll have to see if they keep that momentum up. But man, this is awesome, right? I mean, you're basically seeing the bulk of the kingdom's power all going at it here in this confined space. And I just want to point this out, right, ideally, is that, you know, they removed the union feature, but you still ended up seeing the exact same thing happen, right? Which nothing was halted or stopped from them. They're basically just doing rock pass swaps. And, you know, then the other thing was with the unions, now you just can't send multiple units through the passes all at once, right? However, I could make the argument that that's actually a benefit for both sides because it'll increase the amount of fighting that has to happen. You're seeing some delays because of the fact that you have to pass swap. So again, I just, in general, right, and I covered this, so I'm not going to do a deep dive, but I'm just not seeing really any general inherent benefits when you're looking at what's happening right now, right? It's really just creating hurdles, right, with an extra step or two that you have to jump through for the most part. But that's just my view on it, right? I'm not necessarily going to change my opinion because I just think it makes a lot of sense. And, you know, again, not to say that, and I mentioned this, and all I'm going to say is briefly, I mentioned this as well in my video covering the union feature removal, is that to me it doesn't matter if they have unions or not, right? Really what it came down for me was the reasoning and the justification that they provided for why they removed unions, and that's something that we're obviously seeing now, right here, play out, where it's not really factoring anything too much. So that's going to be it for me. Man, I hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to keep bringing you as much content as possible. Oh, gosh, I'm loving it. Oh, just not to give a McDonald's slogan, because I don't eat that food. But this is Dope Sauce. Can't wait to show you guys more. With that being said, I am out. As always, let me know what you guys think. Who's going to end up winning? Where is the direction going to go? Where's the trending? And until next time, I, as always, will catch you later because my daughter needs me. Peace.